Thank you everyone for coming in today. I'm Kesang, and I will be moderating today's panel, being the theme of Art as a Voice, where we discuss the realities of working in a creative industry. This session, as mentioned, it's part of Creative Careers Day, and we aim to have a very honest and grounded conversation about what it takes to sustain a creative industry today, may that be through financially, emotionally, and structurally. Before we begin, I'd like to let my panelists have a moment to introduce themselves. You have mics. So, Haniya, if you want to begin.
Hi, everyone. My name is Haniya Khalid. I am the founder of Half Light Magazine, which is an independent publication. We've been active for 2 years. Literary arts, pop culture, mental health. We cover it all.
Love it. Hi, everyone. My name is Pauline. I work as a multimedia designer. I've had a corporate career for over 8 years. I work as a lecturer as well at university level, teaching communication design, and I'm a visual artist.
It's unusual for a musician to not put their mic on, but hi guys, my name is Naidu. I am a singer-songwriter, performing artist, creative director of my band, the Tasty Biscuits, and a tattoo artist, illustrator, third dan black belt. The list goes on. Yeah, that's me.
Third dan black belt. Wow. But thank you guys. Thank you all for being here. Just to quickly start off and begin the session, I want the first question to be more about what the theme is, which is art as a voice. So right off the bat, how do you personally see art functioning as a voice in your creative or personal life? Anyone can start. There's no...
Should point at somebody.
General question. I'll start pointing later.
I think I have a very technical background, and I've worked in technical roles now for about 12, 13 years. And I was recently reading this amazing book about a restaurant in Ireland, and it said something about softening the edges. I think that's what the book is called as well. Mm-hmm. And I think, we need technical roles, and we need utility, and we need structure and even governance to a degree to exist. But I think art really softens the edges. I think it just makes everything more tolerable. I think it brings us together. I think it provides us context and a mirror to really understand why we exist, or even just enjoy life a little bit more. So I think that's what I'll steal it from that book. It softens the edges, I think, of life.
You're inspired by it. Yeah. Okay. Would you like to add anything to that, Pauline?
Sure. I think that's so beautiful. But to me, art is sort of like a self-made language. I mean, when we were kids, you pick up one language or another if you're lucky. But I find that sometimes that isn't enough. And so you find other ways of saying it. And what the most beautiful thing about it is if it's entirely self-made and somebody else experiences it, even if it's a song or a film or a book, right? You become understood. Mm-hmm. And this beauty of the self-made language being understood is, I think, what makes it so magical.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think that's how I see it and how I use it.
Beautiful. Yeah. Okay, so I'd like to move on. Thank you, guys. I'd like to move on to the second sort of part of the panel, which is about creative identity, right? And my next question I'd like to direct, I'm pointing at you.
Pointing fingers. Yeah. Let's go.
Towards Dana. So, Dana, from our previous conversations, I understand that your background is very distinct from that of a traditional career pathway. So, how would you say that shaped the way you approach your creative work today?
After I finished school, I didn't go down the route of looking for a job, and I worked in my dad's karate school for 3 years. And I've been practicing karate since I was 2.5, so it's been in my life for a really long time. My dad thought that's what I would end up doing, was take over the karate school and carry on the legacy. So I have no experience of what corporate life is like. I took care of the karate school, and then I was like, hey, Dad, I need to go do music. That's what I have to do. I feel it. I'm going to do it. I moved out of the house. I left the family. I left the family business. And I was like, I need to like figure out who I am.
Yeah.
And leaving that needed to happen. I also am half Tamil, which is South Indian, and half Turkmen. My mom is from Turkmenistan, so South Asian, Central Asian mix. So I grew up in a really culturally mixed household, especially if you're like raised in Dubai. Everybody who's born here knows that you pick up cultures from all over. So my creative identity is like,
As it comes.
yeah,
As it comes.
yeah. I have no way of like pointing it out,
Yeah.
to be honest. It's just a collection of all the things that have happened in my life that have made me who I am.
Yeah. And what I really liked about our conversations is that you mentioned that everything is for the art, right?
Yeah.
Everything is to serve the art.
Yeah, I've actually learned that my karate background taught me so much about discipline. So the discipline in karate that I take and put in my art now, in like vocal exercises, doing a lot of technical training, doing a lot of like research and stuff like that, it comes from the discipline of karate. So me taking that and pouring it into my art,
Yeah.
it's like, it makes sense.
Which is very interesting because you mentioned that you link everything to what you are today, right?
Yeah.
You link everything is interrelated, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
But moving on, thank you. That's a lovely answer. Moving on to, just to take from that as a follow-up, multiple roles, right? We all, or any individual that works within the creative industry, we all have multiple roles. We don't just have a single role to follow. We have several roles to play that circulate or surround a core value or a core role that we intend to do. So I'd like to direct the next question to Pauline, and of course you guys add on as you would. How would you feel like the roles that you play today, the multiple roles, have supported your creative work or challenged it rather?
Right. I would look at it more practically. I'm a Virgo sun, but it. I think having multiple roles that are more like commercial led has helped me not think about that side. And when it comes to my creative projects, usually they're very self-initiated and they're self-funded, and so it would support it financially. So I would say that's how it helps. When it comes to my commercial work, in my day job, I design, but when I lecture, that's where I like teach it. And so I find that it like funnels each other
Absolutely.
in an interesting way. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Anya, do you want to add something to that? Because I know that it's like by day you're one person and by night it's like very opposites. It's Hannah Montana. It's the best of both worlds. Yeah, exactly.
Best of both worlds.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I do. So I do have a corporate job. I work in medical technology. I have a biomedical engineering background. And it's kind of like what you described with karate. I think that I've picked up so many skills that are now transferable to the creative work and vice versa. And I think with younger professionals, and I don't know how many there are here, I think it's so important to not sort of put yourself in the box from the beginning, because you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot, and so many opportunities that you can have to learn, you're kind of writing off because I think we assign ourselves to a value system too quickly. And I think with social media, our identity starts with like virtue signaling, identity signaling. Whereas I feel that because I'm a little bit older, it came the other way around. I sort of did the work first. I went into different spaces, some of which I didn't like, some of which I loved. And I think I was able to construct pieces of that creative identity through those experiences and not the other way around. And I think that what's the kind of amazing thing that comes out of it is oftentimes I'm the creative person in the technical room, and then I can be the technical person in the creative room. And I think that's a tremendous gift. And I think it's a privilege, really, that I've been able to have those experiences. And I think my advice to younger people would be is don't worry so much about what values you're kind of signaling to the world or what identity or box you want to assign yourself, but just like kind of absorb different experiences and learn from them. And you may really hate them, but you'll grow from them and kind of move on and have those experiences.
Absolutely. It's kind of like exercising different parts of your brains. You know, the more, like you said, the more you sort of train yourself, even though you don't like it as much, it will eventually sort of play out for the bigger roles towards the end. So thank you for that. Now, this is like the meat of the conversation, okay? This is the financial realities and how do you sustain in a career. So again, open to all. Money is often one of the most least talked about topics, I'd say openly, but it is the most stressful when you're trying to begin a creative career. So again, what has your relationship with money and financial stability been like throughout your creative journey? If you'd like to share a few words on that.
I actually started making money through music by gigging. I would get approached by clients or just people that wanted maybe somebody to sing at their birthday party, or because my first gig with my band was a 50th birthday party for a lovely lady. And it was a private event, and I'll never forget the day because that like opened a door and it made me realize, hey, I can actually make money doing music here in the UAE. I didn't know that was going to be an option for me when I decided to do music. And so I found money through gigging. That's what I call my 9 to 5, is me singing covers and stuff like that with my band, either solo or like with a band. So I figured out I could learn. I figured out I could earn money through just gigging.
Yeah.
That's how it started. And then I went into the production route where I started creating my own shows.
Yes.
And so then the tickets were the way I would make my money. So there's different avenues to make money as an artist here in the UAE. You just need to jump and figure it out. There's no blueprint. There's never a blueprint, especially for independent artists. There's no one way of doing things. I also earn money by doing like commission work and illustration. I also earn money by tattooing. So when there are on seasons and off seasons in the music space, because we have like a 6 month on, 6 months off. During the winter season is when it's like all in. We're gigging almost every day. But in the summer, it's like dead because it's hot outside. Nobody wants to come out. So in that season, I write my music.
Yeah.
I grow
your
as an
production
artist.
time. Yeah.
I take that time to like work on myself, and then feed myself with tattoo money and illustration money and any odd private gig I get here and there. But it's just about being smart. You need to be financially smart. That's very important
Well, that
as an
comes,
artist.
as you said, that comes once you start.
It comes once you start, but you have to jump in. You can't be like, hey, there's only one way of making money as a musician and it's through your original music. No, you can do a bunch of different things. You can be there's this role that people take at the studio sometimes where it's like you be a demo vocalist where you get paid to sing demo vocals for a record, even if it's not your song. You could do BVs, you could like intern at a production studio. There's like so many options of what you can do as a musician. There's not just one way to make money. But yeah, I'll stop yapping.
No, well, that's very insightful because when we discussed about this, just you and me, it opened up a perspective about me personally because I'm relatively newer to the industry, creative industry, I'd say. So when you said that your gigs are your 9 to 5, I'm like, wait, because when I do fan art,
She's like,
wait, consensual fan art, like that's people buy those.
Yeah.
I make money off of that, but it also gives me a good outlet to promote my brand Kesang
and also to practice your skill.
and to practice your skill. So I
maybe
really
it's not
understood
your original thing,
Exactly.
but hey, careful.
that. Welcome.
Yeah, it's a way for you to practice your skill, and it
Yes.
puts you in that space of like, this
Absolutely.
is my job.
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be something that's separate that's making you money. Your art can make you money. You just need to be open-minded about it.
I would say like both sides are possible.
Yeah.
Definitely both sides are possible. Pauline, sorry, you wanted to add something?
Yeah. Well, I was raised by parents who are both engineers, and so it's this like also an Asian family, so it's very like one track mind type of thing where it's like, oh, you do one thing, you do really well at that job, and you know get paid really well doing that one thing. And so that was kind of my mindset in the beginning. But it's weird because I'm not an engineer, you know? Like, I always knew that I like to put together their things visually, and I found that really easy.
Yes.
And so, I mean, I did the thing where I guess I had a corporate career. I still have a corporate career, but I'm in the design field, in the marketing field. So it's still working a different part of my brain. So yes, I make money through that. And I did work my way up and have had to earn my stripes doing a bunch of different things. But with hard work, I mean, I was able to be able to get into university, back to academia, and also do lectures. So that has been really interesting. And beyond that, when it comes to my art practice, I didn't start making money with it until I started engaging with institutions. Like,
Yeah.
I did that purely because I needed an outlet
Yes.
without knowing that I would be able to make money off of it.
Yep.
Because it was very personal to me, and it still is. So I keep like a nice little line sometimes.
It's safe to say that they all complement each other, right? Because
Yes,
you
they
said that
do.
in spite of having a corporate job,
Yeah.
it's still design related. So it still helps you in the long run, right?
Yeah.
That's really nice. Sorry. Haniya, would you like to say anything?
Yeah. So very early on, we decided to make it's Half Light magazine or zine, make it free. So all of our writing is open for everybody to read online. We'll be moving to print soon, inshallah. And all of our community events are free as well. And so the decision came from a few things. That it is completely self-funded. One thing was we just wanted to have a sort of creative third space in Dubai, even if it's a bit small, which they are, they're quite intimate. That was free for people who wanted to meet like-minded individuals, kind of talk, eat, without worrying about having a price tag on it. And for the entire team, we have a team of 8. There's actually someone from our team over here, Isha. We all have day jobs. So I think our strength comes from the numbers. We're able to do this because there's so many of us. We really delegate and spread ourselves out, and we try to get the writing done and put it together and just kind of put it out for everybody to consume. But I think the kind of benefit that has come from being self-funded is that it's given us complete editorial freedom. Not having a partner, an investor, we can sort of write whatever we want. So, you know, in our next issue, we have an article about why are monsters sexy all of a sudden? Like, what is happening to society where we're all attracted to monsters? No, I think we could. There's an opportunity there for us to work together for sure. But you know, I've also written about my friend's cancer journey who passed away last year. So I can't think of too many publications that would allow you that kind of freedom of kind of just writing whatever you feel like. So it's really given us so much space to play around, and that's been a huge gift.
Absolutely. And just to add to that, what you said, from my understanding of Half Light magazine, you provide a voice, and you not just that. There's a literary voice that you mentioned. Can you pour in some insight to that? Because that's, I understand, an ethos that your team, your family, I would say, follows.
Yeah, so we bounce between calling ourselves a zine and a magazine, and I'm sure almost everyone here, if not everyone, knows the history of zines, which were very sort of political in nature, like pamphlets that were distributed during times of war and as a way to get your message out very quickly without a governing body. And then magazines have obviously more of an editorial structure and long form writing. And really we're kind of in between in the sense that we do long form articles and then we also kind of use it as a way to quickly communicate what we want to say. So I think the literary voice comes with that. I think we also just really follow our passion and our hearts. I'm Sagittarius sun. So it's a lot of it is driven by like, what are we really feeling in the moment? And I think that's what makes it fun. So, you know, we write about Britney Spears or depression, you know, because to me, it's more interesting because I think that is what, as I'm getting to know you, I think I'm interested to know what are you listening to, but also if you've had a hard day. And so I think that is where our ethos comes from, is what am I actually interested in hearing about, is what we put into our writing.
It feels like, it sounds like it's more of a less a conversation you're having, but through a zine, through print.
Yes, but I will say the one caveat is that a lot of our articles are quite research heavy, and they tend to. And I think we have to tiptoe that line of I have to. Sometimes I need to draw that boundary. I'm like, we've written like 8-page articles with like 50 plus citations, and I'm like, is anyone reading this? No, not sure. So I'd say that's the difference.
Amazing. Very insightful points. Moving on to the next topic, which is personally something I'd like to learn from all three of you, and I'm sure the audience as well. It's about fear, discipline, and consistency. So we all, at some points in our lives when we are practicing a creative career, we face burnouts. We face a lot of uncertainties, you know? So based on that, what helps you all stay consistent? Or at least overcome that?
There's no like one answer for this. You have to just know what your why is. Like, why are you an artist? That's the really important question. Why do you want to be an artist? Like, what is that thing that fuels you? If you are in alignment with that, then you're always going to be consistent. Because, like, at the end of the day, it's about respecting that artist and knowing the amount of work that goes into being an artist. I'm all for just expression, but expression without the technicality of it, without the skill of it, is like, to me, it's kind of like, you're just doing it like, because you can.
It's a hobby.
I wouldn't even call it that. I just, like me as a musician, especially in the UAE region, I really struggle with this because there are a lot of artists that just want to express. I'm talking about music. But then they won't put in the effort of taking classes or learning more about their voice or learning how to write or like taking the time to acquire the skills that are required to be an artist. Stage presence is also like something that's really important if you want to be a performing artist. The things that are required in artist development, I'm not seeing that in a lot of the artists in this region. But this is really, really important. And like I really struggle with finding like-minded people who are like, skill is as important to the expression. It's important. You have to like.
It's a balance, right?
It's a balance, yeah. So being consistent in your craft is like really important because you're developing your skill, and that's very important. So for me, it's like, dude, I warm up my voice every day, so I'm ready to sing at any moment. And it's also, I've realized that my voice from the last, I want to say 2 years, has grown so much because of these exercises. I've learned that my range is actually really like, I have a great range, which I didn't know when I first started singing. These are things that come from practicing. And every time I'm in that like daily practice, I learn something new about myself as an artist, like every single time. So consistency is, you just have to do it.
Yeah.
Do you respect yourself as an artist to like take that step? I think that's important. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think I have quite a like very pragmatic approach of like being consistent with things. Is what helps me is having very like boring daily rituals and habits. I think that sets like a foundation.
Yes.
And then it allows me to have that day when I'll go rogue, or I feel like it grants me that freedom to be very liberated and do something completely unexpected, in that
Yes.
it's like an 80-20 sort of thing where 80% of the time I'm kind of eating the same thing every day. I go for a walk every single day.
Yes.
I follow a very boring night routine.
Yes.
But I think that's what actually helps me stay consistent and consistently write, is because I feel I have something very grounding to come back to. And I wish I could say it was something like deeply philosophical or very kind of intellectual,
Sometimes
but
it's
it's
just
just
not
it's just
that,
like very simple habits
Absolutely.
every day that make me feel very grounded. And then I find that really helps me sometimes randomly do something very unpredictable or take a risk, a creative risk. So I think that's what helps me stay consistent.
I think that your 80-20 rule adds to the fact that, you know, you follow a routine, and I really appreciate you use the term boring, but not, I wouldn't use it in a negative light, because I think it's healthy to be boring. You need to bore yourself. But when you practice that 80%, you're kind of like building your own comfort ground for you to mess up or do whatever you want in that 20%. Pauline, sorry, you wanted to add something.
Yeah, I will offer advice. Like, if you're somebody who struggle with consistency, I don't know if anyone has heard of The Artist's Way. Yes. It's a really good book for anyone going through a creative burnout.
I struggled with that book because I have ADHD and it asks a lot. It asks a lot of me.
I
Like,
remember your
But,
blogs
it-
for
it is-
artists.
I stopped because I was like, you can't expect me to write 3 pages every single day
Oh, the
and
morning
answer all the
pages,
questions
yeah.
and do everything.
It's a
But
love-hate relationship. Yeah.
it's I think there are folks that can do it. But also like somebody like me that just cannot sit down and write it in that way. There are different forms of doing that, like
Yeah, you can tweak it a little bit.
voice journaling, things like that.
Yes.
There are different ways to like
Yes. You can tweak it, yeah.
Yeah, you can tweak it a little bit, but it's a really good book and I highly recommend it. I discovered so much about my relationship with my parents when I was reading that book. I was like, this is so strange. Things are coming out of me, things I did not know that were like really repressed. But it's a good shout.
I love it. It's The Artist's Way. But what I want to share about this book is it's not so much the rigorous instructions of what it tells you to do. It's the discipline of actually. So the idea is that every day for 90 days, you would wake up. The first thing you do is you write all your thoughts down, like no editing whatsoever, no thinking about grammar. It's just like a brain dump of what it is that you're thinking, what you're worrying about, what you're observing in your day-to-day life. And you basically wake up earlier than you usually do to sit down and do this thing. And the cool thing about it is that it sounds really rigorous because it is, but you end up practicing discipline in a way where you start to realize, oh my goodness, like that's what it's about. Sometimes it's not so much the inspiration, it's like giving yourself this space to be hit by inspiration
Absolutely.
by just showing up. And I think that's like the beautiful thing about it. You also take yourself out on like artist dates, things like
Solo
that, which
dates,
makes
yes.
it fun.
Yes.
But yeah, highly recommend it. If it's consistency is like something of a struggle, but yeah.
The taking yourself out on dates thing is really cool because the writer talks about how you need to fill your well to be able to express yourself in whatever discipline you're in.
Yeah.
And I think that is the most important thing for artists is you actually have to live your life and you have to have fun doing it.
Just be comfortable in your own company, right?
Absolutely be comfortable in your own company, but also like go out and do stuff, like go for a walk, go to the beach, go for a drive, do things by yourself and like be grateful for sunlight and birds and leaves on the ground and like, you know, like that's the type of thing where you like appreciate the little things in life so you are always inspired. And like, yeah, it's such a good book, dude.
I think you said something very interesting about like when you have sort of boring rituals and routines, then you have something to mess up. I think you really nailed it because the way I think of it is, you know, if you want to throw paint at a wall, you need a wall. And I feel like these kind of rituals are you building that wall within yourself that give you that space to play. If you don't do it, I think then it sort of becomes similar to what you were describing about musicians, that you start creating things, but they exist in a void and they exist in without any context. And I think sometimes they can be very meaningful for just a second. But then I think we all have that kind of internal meter to know when we consume something and we know that, oh, I enjoyed this for a second, I'm never going to come back to it ever again. And I think that happens when you create something to be kind of immediately impactful, but it just exists in that void and then it's gone forever. So back to creating things that are actually sustainable and, you know, you want to be able to come back to it and still feel something.
Exactly. And you're just essentially creating a safe space, right? And Dana mentioned, and even Pauline mentioned about the artist way. I think I've not finished the book, Dana. I'm with you on this one. I also have ADHD.
Girl, it's hard.
Undiagnosed. But one thing it's taught me besides taking out, because I like to journal. So the one thing that's taught me is that I get to hold myself accountable of things that, let's say I'm not able to accomplish something. I know that this is something that's on me and I'm aware of it and I'm accepting that I've not been able to do this today. I'll do it the next day. Right? So this is, again, just heavy on the artist's way. if you get a chance to grab it, please do, and really, really helps you out.
There's also like a free Notion template, by the way, that you can check out. Just
I did
Google
not
it.
know this. I
Just
love
Google
Notion.
it. There's a Notion template that'll give you like all. You don't have to read the book. Like it's free. I'll find it and send it to you, and maybe
Okay.
you guys can email it to everybody.
Absolutely. Oh my God, did not know this.
I got you.
We'll do it together. We'll have a little Notion page moment. More than happy to join more people in. All right, so we'll be definitely leaving questions towards the end of the session, but before that, I just have a little closing question for all of you. Instead of advising something to do to the younger generation or people who are just starting off in the creative industry, I'd like to ask, what is one belief about creative careers you think the younger people or beginners should unlearn? So is there something that you feel like it's a heavily talked about topic and you're like, but that's not, doesn't work like that. Like you mentioned, you just start. You don't think about the financial abnormalities that will come to you or the challenges that come to you. You just have to start something that you really are passionate about. And then you seek and you figure out how to deal with certain things. It's never, again, there's never a blueprint. But is there something that you'd like to highlight? It's a heavy question. I'm sorry.
I think I've talked about it a little bit already, and I think with the financial stuff, also there's sometimes just practical aspects of doing what we need to do to support ourselves and our loved ones. But I think the main unlearning, and I think this is really valid for people who are coming out of the age of social media or coming into it, is to not worry so much about assigning a label to yourself and your work, and trying to really fit in or conform to something. And even when we are becoming anti-conformists, we end up then anti-conforming so hard that we are conforming. To not worry about that so much and just really think about the product that you're creating.
Yes.
When I say don't worry about your values, of course our values matter and what we care about matter, but to put that into the work and let it sort of speak for itself, I think that would be the first one. I think the second unlearning is, I think we all can do better at this, myself included, is I think we need to stop narrating our work so much and letting kind of the work speak for itself. I think this kind of, and it's back to, again, your point about defining boundaries, and what we journal is not the same as what we write, and what we write should not be the same as our Instagram caption, and that should not be the same as our voiceover. And having those digital boundaries is important, because what ends up happening is that we end up insisting upon ourselves. And that is what I find with a lot of artists now is you did the work and then you're talking about it and then you're narrating it, and then it's almost hard to discern what your product was. What is it that I am supposed to consume as a customer of this or a recipient of
What do
this?
you want to show me, right?
Yeah, what do you want to deliver? Is it the kind of endless narration of who you are and what you stand for, or is it the actual work itself? So those would be the two things.
Absolutely. Because sometimes when people just get lost when they try to sell their work, it almost becomes that.
Yeah, it becomes that.
It becomes that, right? Like when you try to really focus on describing what your product is and what you do instead of actually, and then it becomes the product. But yeah, sorry, is there something you wanted to add, maybe?
Yeah.
Those are very strong points.
I can share my unlearning.
Yeah.
Again, like I could trace things back to my roots. And I was brought up again in an environment where it was always like, do the hard work and do it this way and like burn the midnight oil. But I want to emphasize the importance of having a healthy approach to making work. I love this phrase where it says, easy does it. I think there's a reason why. I understand the pitfalls of like not being so disciplined about a craft, but I also think that there is, if there's something, some skill, some practice, or a medium that you feel comes easy to you, or there's that moment where you get into a state of flow and time and space doesn't exist, and it's a thing that you do when you love it and you know it. I think you should mind that thing because you're likely to be better at it. And to be healthily addicted to a craft is kind of a good thing. And yeah, you get so much better at it if you're excited about it. So mind the things that you're excited about instead of just like pushing up a boulder up a hill that you find super hard.
Yes.
Because that may not be the thing for you.
Yeah.
Just a thought. But yeah. Yeah.
Amazing. Dana, anything? You still pondering?
I'm trying to think of like, because when we talked about it, it was like, what would be like the one thing that,
Yes.
yeah. And my one thing was like, be unapologetically yourself, because then you will find
Yeah.
the right people that will end up working with you and vice versa, which is really important for me as a musician. But one thing to unlearn, I really like what you said about labels, and I absolutely agree, because I feel like as an independent artist, you have to wear so many different hats. You have to be good at obviously your craft and everything, but like there's also the whole business side of it, and that business side requires a lot of education and also experience. This is not so much like what you would unlearn, but I think take that as seriously as you take your art. That would be like my one thing, because you need to understand what the industry, like what's happening in the industry, to be able to maneuver your way through it. And for example, like in the UAE, there's not much of a music industry. There's a music scene, things are happening, but there's no structure. Like, for example, in the US or in
Yeah.
other countries that have a really old music industry. Here it's like beginning. So there's no structure. So learn what's happening in the city, learn what the government is doing to support it, like figure all of that out and treat that as something that is super important, just like you would treat your art. I feel like that's the one thing that I would give as advice. It's really important.
Yeah. I do remember you mentioning something about being unapologetically yourself.
Yeah.
I relate to that a lot because there were times when I started getting into drawing and art and posting, sharing that on social media. A lot of it wasn't. I wouldn't say it was everyone's taste,
Yeah.
right? But that didn't necessarily stop me. I guess like what stopped me was my corporate career, but that's a whole other different story.
Yeah.
But this was more about just do it, right?
Yeah.
Just do it scared.
Yeah, and be weird. Being weird is really important because it's
Yeah.
your brand of weird, and I love that. And I feel like more people need to be themselves. Like, be quirky. Let your inner child come out and like appreciate her and appreciate what she's doing for you. It's really, really important to let the artist breathe through you. Just being yourself is really important. If I am like wasn't the person I am today, I would not have found all my collaborators that I currently work with, and these people are a huge part of my life.
Yes, your
And a
artist
huge part of
family.
my artist family. They're a huge part of what I do, and we all support each other in our craft. So we're all kind of lifting each other up, and I think that's also a really important thing. Being an artist is like, yeah, it can be an independent practice, but it's so much better when you have a family to do it with. It's like when you're having an off day, they'll be there to like help you get through it. And I think that's needed as an artist because you're technically alone in your craft. Like this is
100%.
something that you'll always just end up doing alone. But if you
Yeah.
have somebody that understands you, yeah, it's really important. Artist family is number one.
Family. There's some nice keywords just taken from this panel,
Yeah.
artist family and sort of the B-board 80-20 rule. So easy goes. So I like that there are nice keywords that we can develop from this panel. But we've hit time. We've got 5 minutes for any questions from the audience. If there's anything that you'd like to ask our panelists before we conclude this session. Yes.
Hi everyone. Thank you so much for your insights. That was really helpful. I had a question for Dana. You mentioned that you moved out and started your independent practice. I wanted to know how you covered things like rent. Sounds very scary.
Yeah, but I'll tell you why I was blessed because I had the best of people around me and I invested in my relationships and I didn't have to pay rent. My friends let me sleep on their couch. It's like these people are I have my chosen family, I have my artist family. I invest a lot in my relationships. I really love the people around me. And so when I'm in a time of need, they're there and vice versa. So I didn't have to pay rent for 2 years.
Wow.
I was really lucky. I ended up like gaining a really close friend through that experience of me jumping around and stuff like that. So invest in your relationships. I didn't have to pay rent. I slept on a couch, a very comfortable couch for 2 years. That's on building. And she is also a huge part of my artist family, even though she's a part of my chosen family. But she would drive me to gigs. We would go to the gym together. Like, that's a partner, like who helped me in my foundational years of becoming a professional artist. So I invested in my relationships.
If there's any more insights, I would really appreciate. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Anyone else would like to ask a question before we conclude? Yes.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for that talk. It was really insightful and I really enjoyed it. So I am an artist as well in all forms, music. I'm attempting to, we're getting there, the arts, writing, and all of that. And I mean, like you all have said, the industry here is kind of buzzing. We're still kind of blooming. It's like the first season of spring. The flowers are getting there. We're just waiting for them to water themselves and get there. Something that I do struggle with a lot is finding like a direction or a niche. In any art form, it's really difficult to find that. The art scene is buzzing and budding, but there are so many artists and they all have their own kind of style, kind of niche. So how do you guys find that niche and how do you channel it? I know you spoke about not kind of abiding to labels, but is there a kind of style that you developed over the years and how did you find that? And how are you like, yeah, this is me and this is who I'm going to project onto my work?
I love that question. Yeah, go for it.
So I can speak about my writing. It really came, I think, with all writers, it comes from reading. And I spent the last few years reading way more than I have in the last decade. And I was surprised to find that I like nonfiction. Like is probably not the right word, but I was connecting more with nonfiction. And so eventually the writing all sort of became very nonfiction. And so I think finding the direction for me really helps with consuming the art that I like and then seeing what really resonates with me or seeing an artist whose overall ethos I find very, it just connects with me. I think that really helps me find my writing voice. I still love fiction and I read fiction, but I found the more nonfiction I read, the more I was kind of fascinated in how people were telling real stories or memoirs and journalism. And I was like, this is something that I think we can do and then sort of refine over time. So I think consume everything, but then start keeping an eye out for the art that really moves you or something that really, it just, we all know that feeling. You walk out of the theater and you're like, wow, that, and then really start to follow the people you admire. I remember, I don't know if people have seen the show Rami on HBO. I remember that was one of the shows when the end credits would roll, I would feel like a bubble of jealousy. And I'm like, that's when he did a great job writing and directing that episode. Because I was like, man, I've seen this immigrant story. I felt it. I wish I told it. But I was like, hey, he did such a good job. And so art that kind of stirs you that way, I think just like consume a lot of it. And then that really helps you find your niche as well.
Yeah, I also want to say that yes to all of that, because that does make a difference. But also, you're really young and you are just getting out of uni. You have to do a lot. You have to explore a lot. And you have to do everything until you start figuring your path out. So don't go into it thinking like you're looking for the one thing that's yours. Do everything, and then it'll naturally start forming itself. Like, I still have that question in the way that I sing and write and stuff like that, but there's no one thing for you. And I think you need to take that kind of out of your head. You can't go into your art thinking like, oh, what is my style? Like, no, what if whatever you're doing is your style? It just needs refining. Yeah.
Or you can't see it, but we can see it, So I think there's that as well. And I think another thing is, just to add on, is don't be afraid to make mistakes. I look back on our first issue and I'm like, whoa, the writing was really formal and stilted. I'm like, it took me a few issues to get, those gears moving again. So don't be afraid to put out some bad art. It doesn't matter. People don't care that much, but it's a great exercise for you.
Some of my first songs literally sound like ChatGPT wrote it. Like it's so generic. But those songs are the things that got me to be here today. So just do constantly. Just write, sing, paint, do whatever you're doing, and just keep going. Do the work, and like focus on the art. Don't worry so much about everything around it right now. As a young artist, like just create. Yeah, you got this.
Yeah, and I think that is a bit of a common question where it's like, oh, what is my style? But you are the thread, like you are the creator, and at one point you will find the connection there. You just don't know it yet because you're just starting out. But yeah, don't worry too much. Yeah.
Just to add to everything, I love everything that you all said because it's like, I feel like, especially Dana mentioned, I felt like I was personally getting called out because I used to ask myself that question a lot. What is my style? You know, I was really, really bothered by that. That's something. Oh, thank you. That's something I didn't necessarily understand early on. That I had to. It's not important to have a style. Personally, I just went back to what I used to enjoy as a kid, and I kind of like put that in to play today. So, I think that when you're creating, just don't care. And I'm using that word liberally, but just don't care too much of what other people are going to see. More about whether what you make resonates with you. But I really liked your question. Thank you for asking that. Is there anything else before we close off? Yes.
It's just a very short one.
Oh, go.
What is bad art?
What is bad art? What is bad art?
I personally don't think there's anything such as bad art because art is so personal. And it's not just personal to me or you, it's personal to me at a point in my life. You know, a song may be very meaningful to me in 1 year of my life and then another year. So I don't know that there is such a thing as bad art, but I guess in a more practical sense, if it's not intentional and not thoughtful, then it's bad art. There's no such thing, but yeah.
I also want to add, like, if in the moment when you're creating that piece, you are like, what am I doing? Like, this is so bad. Just finish it. Just finish it. Even if you feel like it's bad, just finish it and keep it aside.
Or sometimes just know when to stop. Like, it's okay.
In the music space, we do the opposite.
Yeah.
We like finish writing the bad song.
Yeah.
Even if it's just not working out, the melodies are like, meh, the writing is meh. We're just like, no, let's finish writing it and then fold it and put it away and it's done. The bad idea is out because then the good ideas come. It's similar to like the brain dump in your journal where you're like getting all of the thoughts out, then eventually things just start to make sense and you'll just find the link to how you feel about it.
Safe to say you don't have to make bad art. Make
Yeah,
good, right?
yes, but I think which again brings it back to the fact that it's quite subjective. But I think the one thing that I think if it comes from a very specific intention, then it's good. But when it lacks intentionality and going back to what you were saying about you're just expressing yourself for the sake of expressing yourself, I won't say that's bad art, but I think that's maybe not as consumable for all of us.
For the long term, right? Yeah. No problem. Anything else before we close off? So we're actually over time. Okay. Yeah, I'm happy.
I go on a million tangents, bro.
No, that just shows that we needed to have something like this to talk about so candidly.
Yeah.
And it felt more of a shared dialogue because there were a lot of things that I don't think I disagree on anything you guys are saying, which is interesting because all of you have very distinct backgrounds, but we're still in the same creative field. So that way it just makes you understand.
And
goes
we're
to
all
show-
women.
And we're all women. But anyway, thank you all to our panelists and for your honesty, of course, and your generosity today. And thank you all for listening and, of course, engaging. Thank you for the questions. I hope this conversation offered some form of clarity, reassurance, and maybe even some permission to start. To question and to define success on your own terms. So just a round of applause for the panelists. Yay!
Stickers. If anybody wants any stickers for their phones, please find them here.
For Half-Life Magazine. Yeah. And I'm not sure because I wanted something to be projected at the back, but if you want their socials, honestly, just ask them. Because I would rather like make you say it on the mic, but it's a bit strange. So if you guys want to follow them, please support them online. They're very active online, on Instagram and wherever you can find them. And Dana, there's a show coming up. Are you doing a show for?
I mean, I perform at One Life
Yes.
in D3 every Wednesday, and this
Yes.
coming Wednesday is going to be the last one because we're closing for Ramadan. But besides that, my band is going to drop an album in April, and there's 20 songs in there. So
And what are your socials? Where can we find you?
you can find me on Instagram. I can give you guys my number and email if you want to have a conversation. If you need any support, I'm
Yeah.
more than happy to lend a helping hand.
course.
It's Dana Naidu on all social platforms. So hit me up.
Yeah, of course. And Pauline?
Yeah, I have a website. It's Pauline.onl, short for online. If you can find my work there. And I'm on Instagram at PICHAPAU. Pichapau.
Yeah, just ask her in person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spelling it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
Haniya?
and we're on Instagram, Half Light Mag, so please follow us.
Yes, and please have a sticker. Who doesn't like a sticker?
I will definitely be.
Yeah, come on, party favors.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you guys. Can we have a lot of applause, please? Thank you. Yay, another one.